One day after delivering his budget speech, Finance Chief Paul Chen carries on explaining his financial blueprints to lawmakers and residents. The Court of Appeal clears Jimmy Lai of fraud in land use. And father of wanted activist Anna Kwok gets 8 months behind bars for handling daughter's insurance policy. Good evening, you're watching Cable News, I'm Quentin Yan. After releasing the budget yesterday, Financial Secretary Paul Chen told lawmakers that reserves must inevitably be used in the current climate, as some voiced discontent over continued cuts to social welfare. On the ending of the private electric car one-for-one scheme, he said fiscal factors were not the main consideration. Jeremy Zhu reports.
During the Legislative Council Finance Committee meeting, lawmaker Adrian Ho questioned how much tax revenue the government would gain after scrapping the electric car tax concession scheme, and whether officials would regularly review its impact. Chan explained that fiscal concerns were not the focus. He said advances in electric vehicle technology and falling prices made ending the concession appropriate. He noted sales may dip briefly after the scheme ends. Separately, Peter Douglas Kuhn, chair of the Hong Kong Council of Social Service, criticized the blanket 2% annual cut to spending, including welfare agencies, calling it baffling. Chan responded that social workers play a vital role in caring for the vulnerable, but cuts must apply across the board. He added that the Labor and Welfare Bureau could consider targeted support in special cases. Meanwhile, Bill Tain of the Federation of Trade Unions said 70 owners at Wang Chi House had asked the government to buy their flats unaffected by the major fire at Wang Fu Court. In response, Deputy Financial Secretary Michael Wong said such a purchase would cost an extra $900 million to $1 billion, requiring lawmakers' approval. He added that current funding of $4 billion is sufficient for resettlement in coming years, and cash flow could cover costs if owners of the building reach consensus quickly. Some lawmakers also suggested allowing tax allowances for parents living on the mainland. Chen said such measures could be considered gradually when public finances improve. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
Financial Secretary Paul Chen has responded to public complaints that the latest budget offers insufficient support for families with children, stressing that Hong Kong's economy is only just recovering and the government must be careful with money. Sherry reports.
Multiple callers to radio phone-in said current economic pressures make having children feel impossible, urging bolder government measures to boost fertility rates. Chen said the government has already acted by raising the child tax allowance, along with increases to basic and personal allowances, which provide meaningful relief to tens of thousands of families. He emphasized the need for balance as the economy is still in early recovery, and with future bond issuances on the horizon, fiscal caution is essential. Other hot-button issues include public healthcare fee hikes. A 65-year-old lung cancer patient shared that costly targeted drugs have forced him to keep working past retirement age. He complained that the charge for specialist outpatient follow-ups in public hospitals have jumped sharply, adding heavy financial stress on top of his illness. Chen reiterated the government's co-payment by those who can afford it principle, noting that assistance mechanisms and waivers remain available for those in need. Responding to disappointment over no consumption vouchers this year, Chen explained that retail and catering have stabilized, with mega events drawing more visitors and supporting a positive economic turnaround. He stressed the government is using other methods to put money back in people's pockets instead of direct handouts. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury Christopher Hui defended the budget's plan to transfer exchange fund resources to support Northern Metropolis development, stating that it does not alter the fund's guiding principle. Back in 2021, during the pandemic, Hui warned against using the exchange fund for routine government spending, as that will weaken its role in safeguarding Hong Kong's currency and financial stability. Speaking to the press, he clarified that those remarks referred to deploying capital for emergency support measures at the time, highlighting the fund's long-term nature and the need to avoid operational expenditure. This latest move, he explained, is different. The transfer is earmarked for investment in infrastructure projects, not day-to-day spending. Hui stressed that investment and expenditure are fundamentally distinct, and the principle guiding his earlier response remains consistent with today's decision. The Court of Appeal has overturned the 2022 fraud convictions and sentences of Apple Daily founder Jimmy Lai and former executive Wang Wai-kun, which related to an alleged lease violation at the newspaper's former headquarters. Cheryl Yun reports.
Prosecutors left the courtroom immediately after the decision was read. The pair had appealed both conviction and sentence after being found guilty of fraud in 2022 for allowing Lai's consultancy firm Deco Consultants to occupy part of the Apple Daily building in Tseung Kwan O Industrial Estate in breach of the lease with Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks Corporation. Lai was originally sentenced to 5 years and 9 months imprisonment, while Wong received 1 year and 9 months. In its ruling, the appeal court found that the prosecution failed to prove criminal liability for the lease breach. It held that there was no express or implied duty in the lease requiring Apple Daily to disclose Deco's occupation. Even if a disclosure duty had existed, it would have rested with the company, not with individual officers. It also ruled that the prosecution did not adequately explain why Lai and Wong personally owed an independent duty of disclosure to the landlord. The trial judge also failed to properly consider the defendant's state of mind at the relevant time. The court therefore allowed the appeal, quashed the convictions, and set aside the sentences. Wong had already completed 21 months of jail time, while Lai remains behind bars, serving a separate 20-year term for national security offenses. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
In other news, a court has sentenced the father of wanted activist Anna Kwok to 8 months in prison for trying to cash out her insurance policy. But it dismissed suggestions that the sentence amounted to collective punishment against the fugitive's relative. Kwok In-sen, aged 69, was convicted of attempting to handle the assets of a specified absconder after he tried to withdraw more than $88,000 from a policy he bought for his daughter, a U.S.-based activist and one of 8 fugitives placed on a $1 million wanted list in 2023. Handing down the sentence, acting principal magistrate Andy Chen dismissed defense arguments that punishing the father would amount to collective punishment. He wrote that the offense was serious, as any attempt to unlock a fugitive's assets could discourage them from returning to face justice. While acknowledging that the elder Kwok had not directly endangered national security, Chen found his dishonest conduct and the substantial sum involved warranted a custodial sentence. He set a starting point of 9 months, reducing it by 1 due to the defendant's age and clean record. The case marks the first time a family member of a wanted activist has been convicted under the Safeguarding National Security Ordinance, which came into force in 2024. A Chinese man was robbed of 5 million Japanese yen in cash in Japan's Osaka. The Chinese consulate general in the city has urged police to solve the case quickly and once again advised Chinese nationals to avoid traveling to Japan. Police found what appeared to be a stun gun at the scene. The 36-year-old victim, who lives in Kanagawa Prefecture, was attacked by several men on a street in Osaka's Sumiyoshi ward on Wednesday evening. He was injured after being struck in the face with a suspected stun gun, and his backpack containing the cash was stolen. The case is being investigated as robbery and assault. The Chinese consulate in Osaka said it has made representations to local authorities, calling for stronger protection for Chinese citizens in Japan. It also reminded its nationals to avoid carrying large amounts of cash and to remain alert to safety risks. At least 4 Cuban nationals have been killed and 7 others injured in a gunfight after a U.S. speedboat reportedly entered Cuban waters illegally. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio described the incidents as unusual and confirmed Washington will launch its own investigation. Jeremy Zhu reports.
Cuba's Interior Ministry said border forces intercepted a suspected vessel near Cayo Falcons, 200 kilometers east of Havana, on Wednesday morning local time. As officers prepared to board, they came under fire. The forces then shot back. The gunfight killed 4 on the boat and injured 7, including a Cuban commander. Officials confirmed the vessel was registered in Florida. Local media reported it carried 10 Cuban nationals living in the U.S., who were armed and intended to carry out an infiltration for terrorist purposes. One suspect related to the incident has also been arrested inside Cuba. Rubio stressed no U.S. government personnel were involved, and the incident was not an American operation.
I'm not even going to speculate as to what it could have been. It's a wide range of things. But suffice it to say, it is highly unusual to see shootouts in open sea like that. It's not something that happens every day. It's something, frankly, that hasn't happened with Cuba in a very long time.
He said the U.S. will not rely solely on Cuban information, and U.S. Coast Guard has been sent to investigate. If there were U.S. citizens or residents on board, Washington wishes to get access to them, he added. Florida's Attorney General said his office is assisting federal and state agencies with investigations, adding that Cuba's government is not trustworthy and pledged to uncover the truth. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index closed 384 points lower. Top active stocks of the day: Alibaba was down $5.30. Tencent was down $10.50. HSBC was up $2.30, while Ping An was down $3.30. Hong Kong Stock Exchange posted a double-digit profit growth last quarter, while both annual profit and revenue hit record highs for the second year in a row. Average daily turnover in the city stocks surged 90% to a record $249 billion. Thanks to strong market activity, HKEX's fourth quarter earnings were up 15% from a year ago to $4.3 billion, while full-year profit rose 36% to $17.7 billion. The board declared a second interim dividend of $6.52 per share, up 33%. Average daily turnover climbed more than 20% in the fourth quarter to $229.8 billion, and even higher for the full year, shooting up 90% to $249 billion, the highest ever. The initial public offering market was also active, with 119 new listings in 2025, of which 2 ranked among the world's top 5 by fundraising amount. Total funds raised jumped 2.2 times to $286.9 billion, with over 400 companies still waiting to list. Electricity supplier CLP Holdings reported a 10% drop in profit last year. Net earnings fell to $10.46 billion. The company declared a fourth interim dividend of $1.31 per share, up 4% from a year earlier. Revenue slipped 3% to $88 billion. The group said its regulated business in Hong Kong performed better than last year, but the gains were offset by weaker results in Australia and lower contributions from the Yangjiang nuclear plant and renewable energy assets on the mainland. In Hong Kong, the group plans to continue investing in growth projects and ensure that ordinary dividends keep rising in line with profit growth. It added that, with international fuel prices falling, the average net electricity tariff was cut by 2.6% in January and will be reduced again in March, noting that it will keep a close eye on factors affecting fuel costs. On to the weather now. Mainly cloudy with a few showers. Visibility relatively low in some areas in the morning and at night tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 20 and 24 degrees. Light to moderate east to southeasterly winds. And that's our news tonight. I'm Quentin Yan. Thank you for watching. Good night.